Welcome everybody to the Text Pop Podcast for the week of late January. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, I'm your host for the week, Sam Callahan, and as you can tell, I'm very tired from work. And this week we got a slightly smaller crew with Brandon Carey.
I shoot neon from my hands.
And Chris Acharya.
AC3 is garbage.
I think we're going to have to let Chris go first because of that. Garrett is not with us this week. He's having some computer troubles, but he should be back soon. Anyway, we don't have viewer questions this week. Do you guys have any news worth bringing up?
The biggest thing that I've been hearing about is some of the shit that Microsoft's been talking about, like Windows 10 is going to allow you to play like Xbox games or something along those lines. And then there's the whole HoloLens project that they've been showing off. So I was kind of looking at the specifics for that, but
I know nothing about this HoloLens project, so tell me more.
It is you get the Hatsune Miku in your goggles.
oh, shut up.
You just put them on and just Miku shows up.
You'd want that, wouldn't you?
You know that's the first thing that's gonna happen. Is someone's gonna be like, "Fuck it, how do I put
least in
Hatsune Miku
Japan.
in this?"
At least in Japan,
Oh yeah.
to where everybody can make her waifu.
Yeah.
Like,
I had my best friend show me a fucking video yesterday. That was a Hatsune Miku guitar pedal. So when you strum the strings, it makes Miku noises.
I'm not gonna lie, that just sounds kind of sad. That just sounds extremely sad.
Apparently they sold by tens of thousands.
Oh, people.
Yep.
Jesus.
All the lonely people. Where do they all come from?
But, well, the first thing I'll mention is that there's going to be like all kinds of compatibility between Windows 10 PCs and Xbox Ones, to where you would be able to stream like your Xbox One games to a Windows 10 PC, even a laptop, I think.
But only on the same network. So it's not a
Yeah.
sort of case where you can stream it from like, a couple of states away. And
Pulling up the.
I don't
No, go
believe they
ahead.
said one way or the other if you can do it the other way around. Like that was the big rumor going around, is if you could play computer games on your Xbox in sort of a Steam Big Picture kind of way.
Yeah, because I think like they actually want to release. I think they want to release some of the the Microsoft first-party games on to like Windows 10 PCs, and because there's the whole thing of like DirectX 12 isn't going to work on Windows 10, but the first year of Windows 10 release, anybody who has Windows 7 or 8 gets it for free within the first year.
Yeah,
So-
and I could play Fable Legends crossplay. It's like Shadowrun all over again.
So, and this is from The Escapist. First, Microsoft confirmed that cross-platform gaming is coming to Windows 10 and the Xbox One, and the feature was demoed by Phil Spencer's at whenever's Windows 10 meeting. Fable Legends was demoed on both the Xbox One and an Alienware gaming PC, with both platforms staying in the same multiplayer game. It's not yet clear how far-reaching this feature will be, like if it will be able to play from available to third-party developers.
It's kind of like that weird dream that's been around since the dawn of the 360 era. It was like, yeah, cross-platform gaming and synergy and all that. It never really came to fruition.
Remember Shadowrun?
I have a copy
Remember
of
that
Shadowrun.
thing?
Oh, you mean the shitty one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
I
fucking-
remember that. I never played it, but I remember it.
I played a lot of it.
Yep. Out of all the 360's library, that was the only one that ever did it.
And it was a nightmare.
Yep.
Let's
Of
Uh,
course.
As far as the HoloLens, this is basically, Microsoft's whole augmented reality device, to where,
Oh, I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
yes, to where, again, coming from The Escapist, called Windows Holographic, Microsoft's latest venture is centered around its own HoloLens headset. The HoloLens is a wearable computer, and the headset contains a CPU, GPU, holographic processor, and the various sensors needed to pull off such a feat. So, Google Glass taken to the next logical step, as they seem to describe it, to where it will...
Something a bit more like Oculus.
Also, a fun fact, Google Glass has been discontinued.
Really?
At least for now, the current, setup you can't get anymore.
I mean, it was a prototype they showed off.
Yeah. Also, it cost like
But
$1,000.
As far as I would not call this Oculus Rift, because Oculus Rift is more of like, oh, here's how we can make like VR/3D with current games. No, this HoloLens is pretty much more of like augmented reality, and this goes back to, it reminds me of like some of the patents I kept hearing Microsoft talk about, like like they were filing patents for projecting holograms in people's room, and people were speculating like, oh, is the next Kinect gonna project the fucking game in your living space? And I think we can safely say that's what this was. It was, it's a headset. It's going to project glass, all kinds of shit that you would see. Like if you were wearing this headset and you were looking at your desk and you wanted to see like a 3D model of, I'm just going to go by the example in this video that they show, like ladies like at her desk looking at, modeling a fucking motorcycle, and then like the motorcycle is projected on her desk and she can move it around and shit.
Yeah.
So yeah. So it's kind of more like Google Glass than it is Oculus Rift, but.
Yeah, it seems interesting. I think the one complaint I saw flying around was that, as with a lot of VR right now, it just looks a little bulky and uncomfortable and just kind of dumb. Which is the big thing, is that they're advertising it like, yeah, use it in your office and such, and it's like, I think the big comment I saw going around is, until it looks like regular glasses, nobody is going to adopt this widely.
Yeah,
yeah.
Like, this isn't what I see people walking around in when I saw Back to the Future 2,
Yeah.
It's not...
And, we're getting there. We're certainly getting there.
I mean, hey, they said self-lacing shoes are coming out.
Oh, why even have laces at that point?
Why have laces to begin with?
The future of shoes laces. Is Tom's. Just fuck laces. Hashtag
Velcro
fuck laces.
all the way.
So is the next episode going to be Velcro all the way? Right,
but yeah, I mean, they show like the screenshots for this thing of like, the idea of having like a menu projected in front of you and being able to touch it with your fingers and stuff, I guess this is how we're going to achieve that, because the fucking, Mass Effect Omni tool is not going to come anytime soon.
Oh, I need that Omni tool, though. I got to hack some doors.
Right. Become an expert hacker by playing Concentration.
Alright, we got any other news? I feel like there was something else, but...
Talk about Evo if you want.
It's a fighting game thing?
The fighting game tournament?
Oh, yeah.
Is Skullgirls going to be there?
So what is the lineup for that?
The lineup includes, bring up the list right now. It includes Super Street Fighter 4, obviously.
Wait, Super though? Not like Capcom, Ultra or Mega or anything?
Ultra.
Okay.
Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Yeah, of course.
Super Smash Brothers.
Of course. Okay, before you...
Wait, 4?
Really?
Super Smash Bros. Wii U.
Weird.
Oh, I'm surprised.
You think they would be Melee forever. Maybe they're going to give it a shot.
Melee's also on there.
Okay.
Yep.
There it is. There's the catch.
Then
even like... Sorry.
Keep going.
Well, even last year's EVO, they had people fucking playing Street Fighter 2 hyper fighting in some cases, so...
Yeah. Fair enough. I wonder who's going to play Jackie Chan. Fucking 2D Jackie Chan fighting game.
It looks like, I think that's Guilty Gear Xrd.
Yeah, Xrd sign. I want to get that so bad.
I'd love to see that.
Then Killer Instinct.
Okay. I have yet to play that. I still have a copy of KI.
You have an Xbox One. You have no excuse.
I know, it's free. I have it downloaded. I just haven't touched it yet. I have.
Well, I'm interested in hearing how that plays.
Yeah.
So I hear it's pretty good.
Yeah. I'll try it out before next week and come back and tell you about it.
Then they have Mortal Kombat X.
Oh, is that gonna be out in time for EVO?
Yeah, because it's going to be in July.
Oh, okay. Curious about X.
That's weird. I find it weird that they would have it like that soon, considering like the amount of practice a lot of these people put into a game like this.
Well, didn't the exact same thing happen with Mortal Kombat 9 when it came out? That there was only like 2 weeks before EVO or something like that? Something insane?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
I want to say that was the thing last year when people were, or whenever MK9 came out, that people were like, I don't know if we can have it this year because it's way too close to release. Swore that was
And
the thing.
there's only 2 games left on the roster. It's going to be Persona 4 Ultimax
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Marie.
and Tekken 7.
New Tekken's coming out.
What?
I forgot about that. That's weird, though. I never thought Tekken was an Evo game. This is weird.
So yeah,
I don't know. I mean,
that is the Evo roster for next year's Evo.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that gets played at Evo, even if it doesn't get streamed.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like the stuff that gets streamed on like their channels and everything. Like those are the big ones that obviously they know they're going to get viewers for.
There are some interesting picks in there to be sure.
I'd be really... I don't think I've ever watched Evo live before. Like, I've only ever seen clips afterwards. But I'd be really curious to watch some Zerd Sign, like, high-level play.
I would too.
I want to watch the Ultimax footage probably.
Yeah.
Just seeing
fucking
how
Arc Systems games. I just want to watch people play those. Insanity.
Oh, God. That reminds me of one of my favorite things from last year, which was when they played Blaze Blue Chrono Phantasma.
Oh,
which
I gotta
is
go see that.
the third Blaze Blue. The finals in that was fucking emotional. Because when that match, that setup went as long as it could possibly go. And then when it was all over, both of the guys were in tears. Both the winner and the loser. Like, it was fucked up. It was crazy. It really was one of those things of, like, against all odds, this is what happened.
Damn. I gotta go check up on that. Like, Arc
man,
Systems,
it's
like, high-level play is always fascinating to watch, just to see the
Yeah.
insane shit people
It's
pull off.
crazy.
the stages I'll never be able to pull off ever,
Yeah.
no matter how hard I practice.
I just keep
Oh.
playing Marie, and I learned the 2-button combo.
Marie is shit.
Oh, don't you dare say that. Fucking...
She's garbage.
She's a
I can't remember
tsundere.
the
She's the
name,
best. It's not like
I can't even
like
remember
her.
the name of the girl I was practicing with.
Yukari?
What's she look like?
Does she have
Robot
hair?
Girl with axe.
I guess. Oh,
Oh,
Labras.
with that Labras, yeah.
Yeah. I like her.
Labras is cool.
Yeah. The regular or the Shadow Labras?
Regular.
I need to go play some more Persona 3. It's always a thought. I had that thought earlier today.
I mean, it's not a bad thought to have.
Well, I mean, one day I'm gonna fucking finish it. I started it when I was, like,
Well, Evo's
14,
not
maybe?
until...
It's not until July.
Okay.
Okay.
That's kind of a bummer, but at least I can mark my calendar for watch Guilty Gear Zerd and Persona.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe by then I'll be good at Persona.
We'll see.
Alright.
Really all the worthy stuff, though, so...
Yeah, that's all I can think of right now. The other stuff was just minor stuff not worth talking about.
Yeah, like there was nothing, I casually read the news these days, but there was nothing that sticks out to me that I remember. Alright, that being said, get right into it.
You should do your segment first, since you seem to be the most tired of the three of us.
Alright, so, as compared to last week where I barely played anything, this week I played a whole bunch of stuff. Trying to think of what order. I guess I'll just talk about in the order I played them. Real quick, I guess to get out of the way, I finished Valiant Hearts. I didn't like that game. So, fucking someone sue me over it.
In my circle, that's not too uncommon.
Yeah, it's
in my
funny because,
particular
like,
circle.
I know a friend of ours, Rita, was really into it, but, like, it's funny, when I said that, a guy I know on Twitter, Bryant, was like, yeah, I get it. He's like, I like it, but I get what you mean, when I told him the problems I had with it, which was that I think it's a really good story, but I think the gameplay does not really mix with the story very well. Because I think it's admirable that they tried to make an anti-war game in which you don't actually shoot people. Like, I understand that. But the same problem, it's really hard to talk about the horrors of war when all of the interactive elements are just, like, putting cogs on walls and moving boxes.
Yeah, that...
Like, they tried to move so far away from, like, talking about anti-war and yet trying to say war is hell, but it's like, but I don't understand that war is hell if I'm not part of it.
You're not
the mechanics don't support that message.
Yeah.
You're not participating in any of the violent acts of why this is horrible.
And it also, I believe, Aaron Signal brought this up in his video when I first saw it, was just that the art style is really cool, but the biggest problem with it is that because everyone is faceless, it kind of makes you care for them less.
Yeah.
Like the fact that no one has eyes and they have very little expressions. It's like, there's a point near the end of the game, I'm not going to spoil the very end because, I'll get to that in a second. But there's a point like near the end where you're like running with a whole bunch of soldiers and they're dying one by one, and it like slows down the shot, and you're supposed to go like, oh no, but it's like, who are these people? Like, it's guy with glasses and guy with mustache and guy with beard and mustache and guy with beard but no mustache. Like,
It's
You
like
can see his glasses but not his eyes.
yeah, there's one person who has eyes, which is Carl's son. He has he's the only person who I've seen with eyes in that entire game.
It's like if George Lucas wanted me to start giving a shit about the lives of stormtroopers. Like,
Yeah.
I don't.
And it's like, the way you could say that is the idea that, like, you know, people are treated as just name tags and numbers in war, which I also get, but again, I don't think the gameplay reinforced that to any degree. It's just, it's really bizarre, and, you know, this will probably be the most, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. I could be wrong on this, but the thing that I thought when I finally finished it was that I felt people were so affected by the ending, which was fantastic, it's a really good ending, that it may have obscured the really bad problems with it when they say how good it is. It's like, are you just thinking about that ending when you think about how great the game is? Because I was sitting there and I had to make myself continue playing that game. Because I wasn't even that I was bored, I was just like, these puzzle elements are just bad.
I know how that feels.
I know how that feels.
So, it's not... I think the way I described it when I said on Twitter is it's a good story, but it's a bad video game. And I would stand by that. I'll write a short thing about it later. Second up, I guess I'll order them in, because there's one I'll talk about at the very end, is I'm almost done with The Walking Dead Season 2. I am on the final episode.
I need to get back to that.
Episode 3, pretty great.
Yeah.
Everything else kind of sucks.
The thing is, like, I expected... Are we okay with spoiling The Walking Dead Season 2? Or you just minor spoilers?
I think we can spoil, like, the first 2 episodes. Like, Chris, is that how far you've played?
I've played only one,
I mean, because
unfortunately.
they have this major villain set up in the first episode.
This I've heard of.
Yes.
I've heard of this.
I
They
think most
blow
people
their
know it.
load in the third episode, which leaves the last episode just kind of like you're faffing about with no real objective.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've
Like,
heard about
the,
this.
The main thing basically after that becomes Rebecca's baby. Like,
And,
that's,
and the worst part is,
that's
like,
the whole plot point.
that whole villain, he's not your problem. Not really. You just got swept up into it.
Yeah, it's like I tweeted a whole big rant about it that I believe you saw, Brandon, at one point, where I talked about all the problems with Telltale's design that I really want to put in an article form. But just a couple of highlights, I guess, to point out is, like, the problem with Telltale's design, it's fucking multifaceted.
It only works as long as you were not aware of the magic behind the scenes.
Yeah, like, one of the biggest problems I have with it is that, and this is funny because I'll talk about this in a minute, but I finished Saya No Uta, which is a visual novel where you only make 2 or 3 choices throughout the entire game. But the point being with Walking Dead, no matter how many choices you make, you're still heading to the same end goal. Like, no matter what I do, I will always end up with the same 2 choices
All
at the end of the
threads
episode.
converge.
Yeah. So it kind of, the way I kind of thought to visualize it is it's like you're going down a straight line and you're just kind of like pushing like you're away and you're kind of like, you know, bending the straight line that you're moving on, but you can never break off. There is no point in the game where you can just go down a completely separate path to a different ending.
Did you see
you
the
can just get
flowchart
it
for Walking Dead Season 1? Did you ever see the flowchart where they had all the story events in order, like a
no, I
flowchart?
should really see that.
It's basically a straight line that diverges into a Carly and the other guy's branch.
Doug?
Doug, yes.
Yeah, Doug.
And then they converge, and it's a straight line for the rest of the entire time.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame that, like, I've played enough Telltale games that it just kind of finally hit me that, you know, the magic is kind of worn off, and it's like, now I'm just seeing it for the mechanics it
Once
is.
the illusion of you know, your choices matter gets broken, the whole thing falls apart.
Really don't. Even the big choices really
It is
don't
a game
matter.
that is designed to only be played through one time.
I mean, and the thing about Telltale, the reason, like, Walking Dead is what got them noticeable among mainstream audiences, but, like, people like me, you know, fell in love with Telltale because they brought back adventure games. You know, when they did, like, Sam and Max and Strong Bad's cool game for attracting people and some of the stuff that they did with that. But the thing was, like, Walking Dead, it's not those things.
Yeah,
The
they
Sam and Max-
kind of grew away from that style of adventure game a while ago. Like I'd say,
Yeah, because-
I'd say you can see like in the first Walking Dead season how they transitioned slowly away from those and more towards the story elements,
Well-
just gradually over a period of time.
Technically, the first transition would actually be Jurassic Park, which came out right before that. It had the same dialogue set up.
I'm
for
thinking like at the start of the Walking Dead season 1, you could see they were still throwing in these video gamey puzzles.
Yeah.
Yeah, like things, because the challenge
Because
of
they felt they had to, but as they grew into that season, they realized they didn't have to do that, so they stopped doing it.
Yeah, it
like
became
the
a lot more bad
challenge of an
decisions.
adventure game, and where like gameplay came from was trying to solve whatever logic puzzles that they threw at you.
Yeah.
And then your reward was seeing
The
like the
next
narrative and the stuff that comes afterwards. Not that you have any agency in it, but it's just, oh, you got past all the puzzles, now you get to see what happens next.
Yeah.
That was basically it. And I could see why they didn't want to bog people down with stuff like that, because some of those Sam and Max games, like, you could still get pretty stuck on some of those.
Yeah, I did.
And a lot of it is because, it suffers from some of the same problems that even like old adventure games like fucking Fate of Atlantis and Day of the Tentacle, all that shit, like, it suffered from the stuff of, like, what is their logic and how it doesn't even make sense. No wonder you couldn't solve the puzzle. But Walking Dead, I could see why they didn't want to bog people down with that. They wanted to just have it. They made it a lot more simplistic to where there really is nothing hard about any of the puzzle solving. What puzzle solving there is in Walking Dead,
And I think, at least in the beginning, it seemed like a great idea, but the more Walking Dead games that I play, and I think part of it is just their oversaturation, like, playing Walking Dead Season 1 and then Wolf Among Us straight into this, it just kind of made me realize that, those decisions really don't matter, and the secondary problem I have with them is, this is almost exclusive to Walking Dead, Wolf Among Us doesn't really suffer from this that much, is that because every decision is just bad decision or bad decision, eventually I feel like that kind of lost the gravity of it. If all I'm making is bad decisions, then at some point I don't consider how bad these really are. At some point it's like, that's whatever. Like, I became...
Like,
I don't think nihilist is the
I'm
right
choose-
word, but I
it's
got
like
to a
you're
certain point where it's like,
choosing
I
evil,
don't
let's play
care
for it.
anymore. It's like, there's a character, Jane, who shows up later, and she's all
Yeah.
like, yeah, you could just be alone, and you could just say fuck the world, and just, forget your group and all that. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it, sure, whatever, I don't care. Like, all I'm gonna do is keep making bad decisions, because there is no point where you can make good decisions.
Yeah.
And that's
And
part of
that-
the universe, part of it is them.
I did not like the group in Season 2, honestly, that much.
The what?
The group that you were with in
Oh,
Season
yeah,
2.
it's terrible.
I
compared to
really
one.
did. Like, I remember loving the group in Season 1. I just don't care about these people in Season 2 because they're all
Yeah,
a bunch
I
of
can-
morons.
I think it says a lot that the best character from Season 2 is the one who returns from Season 1. Which
Yes.
is Kenny. Which is hilarious.
And
Because it's Kenny.
Kenny was the worst character from
Yeah.
Yeah, like, that's where, imagine, like, a scale on that. If Kenny is the worst from Season 1, he's the top of Season 2's cast. And
They
to be
actually
fair,
do
though,
a lot-
his arc is
they
actually
develop his
pretty
character
good.
a lot in Season 2. I'll
Yeah.
give them credit for that.
He actually goes through a really good arc as far as just, like, all that loss finally hitting him, and, he has a really good moment with that. It gets a little janked up later on,
I think
but it's just, like,
I
I don't
think
care about Luke or Nick or Rebecca or
Oh,
Alvin
man,
or
Nick.
everyone
Oh,
else.
God, Nick.
because I think, like, at the end of the day, with the style of interactive narrative that Telltale goes with today, because it's totally making them a good amount of money, and I would like to see those guys stay in business, but it's like, for guys like us who want real gameplay and intelligent design and all this stuff, we probably won't find it. And, guys like us who love to pull back the curtain and see how everything ticks,
Yeah.
this is going to
You
disappoint
can't do
us
that with
and
Telltale
people
games.
like that.
Yeah, the moment in these latest Telltale games, the moment you realize the machinery behind the scenes, that is the moment the entire experience gets
Yeah.
blown for you.
And that for me happened halfway through episode 3. When I
That
went on
happened to
Twitter
me in the
rant.
very first episode of Walking Dead Season 2, actually.
Yeah. Well, I said
But
season
the-
3. I'm in episode 3.
Yeah.
But the other side of the coin of this is that the reason a lot of these are super successful, and I'm sure a lot of, the hardcore whatever would hate it, casually, there are a lot of people that enjoy this. People who never play a shooter,
You
people who
don't-
never play an RPG, they'll
they will gladly pick this
There
up.
are a lot of things you need to do as a player, which is both good, bad in some cases, and good in a lot of other cases.
I mean, it's kind of funny that the more
Yeah.
I play that and the more I've played other visual novels, it's kind of just is an evolution of a visual novel.
Yeah.
And that, like, if you consider it from
Yes.
that perspective where none of your choices make that much of a difference, then it's fine.
Yeah.
At least for most cases, I was going to say, like, Saya, that you have all of 3 decisions throughout the entire game, so they radically changed the ending, which is the comparison with The Walking Dead that I thought was interesting, where I really wish Walking Dead had passed. There was just like,
Although
you can just
actually,
completely
in the
miss this whole
Walking-
thing.
In The Walking, I'll let you go through the game first before we talk about that. Never mind.
Yeah, I would love to.
I retract what
Yeah.
I'm about to say. I retract it.
You know, we keep saying about spoiler cast, Walking Dead Season 2 would not be a bad one.
Yeah.
Because
or
I
Walking
haven't
Dead Season
played
1
it
and 2.
yet.
Yeah, it's not
I
that
mean,
long.
once you do eventually get around to it, Chris, it would be good to have the 3 of us
Yeah,
just
I
talk
know.
about it.
Yeah, like, the thing was, I finished Episode 3, and by the time I did that, it gave me enough energy to kind of push through Episode 4, and now it's like, I might as well just finish it.
Should finish. You'll probably be able to finish 5 tomorrow in your spare
Yeah.
time. It's not very long.
Yeah, I did also post on Twitter, though, that the final decision in Episode 4 was actually got me so good that I shouted "fuck" out loud in my bedroom.
Yeah.
Because it is, and the thing was, is I did that, and I thought about that afterwards, and I was like, that is good Telltale design, that I was stuck between a rock and a hard place, and I had so little time to make a decision that the important part for me was that it was multifaceted problem. It's really hard to say without explaining exactly what it is, but basically, where most big decisions in Walking Dead is either you do A or B, and A or B will always lead to conclusion, 1 or whatever. But this one, it's like, if I do this, it'll change multiple different things in the future. Or rather, it'll change the situation I'm in multiple different ways.
In theory.
Yes, I doubt it actually does, but in that moment, when I had like 3 seconds to make that decision, I thought, if I do this, this is going to cause this to happen, this, and this, as opposed to this will happen or this will happen. Which I found interesting. I just wish there was more like that, but I think, there's other smaller problems. Like, I feel like the amount of dialogue decisions you have to make kind of undercuts the importance of said decisions, where it's like everything you say is like, he'll remember that.
Like,
It's
I mean,
yeah, but to what degree?
He's remembering one choice out of like the 50 I've already made. So
Yeah. I had
who
a
cares?
small discussion with a friend of mine, FOMO, on Twitter, where he was, he's the kind of guy, when I tell him a problem or something, he likes to go, well, how would you fix that? And I think that the thing that Telltale could do to fix it is make people more like normal humans, in the sense that you could have enough decisions that instead of having outcome A, B, or C when you select A, B, or C, it'd be nice if you could have enough decisions where the person could have reaction, A1, A2, A3, that are just different inflections
like a
of that.
reputation system where it just accrues and decreases over time.
It's kind of, but imagine like the idea that humans are more complicated than just we react in one of 3 different ways. We can react with different kinds of, like, very different degrees to those things.
Yeah.
And that's the
Depending on
thing
what
that's
you
really
already think
hard to
about
do.
you.
But if there were enough decisions that I could get the same reaction from a certain character, but in different ways, like, they respond to me in a solemn way, or they respond to me in a slightly angry but still solemn way with the same dialogue, like just different inflections that ever so slightly change the way they act.
But you
That's
also
how
have to.
work you're asking for, though, that would...
Yeah,
That
but
is an
that's the problem, though, is
exhausting
that,
thing
like, now that I've peeled back the curtain, as we say, I can see, like, how uncanny these characters are. And,
Yeah.
like, that's the only way to fix it, is that they have to be more like normal people, and they have to have very small changes in demeanor over the course of every decision you make. Like, everything you say has to have an effect on them for this to be realistic.
I think I remember
think
another reason that this kind of broke for me is that a lot of the time when I was playing this game, I got a lot of crashes. I don't know if you did
I've
either,
got none on my PC.
but like I got crashes at least once per episode.
Wait, you playing on PS3?
No, on a PC.
Interesting. I didn't.
And I would often have to like replay like maybe 10 minutes of scene at the most, and at the least, and then I would do different choices, but then they'd have the exact same responses that they did when I made the last choice.
Right.
Mhm.
And I'd be like, this
think-
is strange.
I think if you wanted to do something really clever along the lines of like what you would want, Sam, get rid of voice actors, make it all text.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way that
The
people
problem
have
is
done
that
it.
nowadays we have been trained to expect for any game of sufficient budget
Yeah.
Every line must be voice acted.
Yeah, but you are
Like-
right, Chris, and that's it's kind of funny you mention that because of the Twine games I've played, which is just it's sort of like a visual novel text-based adventure style game. You can do that. Like I've seen people with pages of Twine. It's like it does the exact thing I say, where it's like, well, here's 6 choices, 2 of them will lead
Or
to the same
Planescape
outcome,
Torment,
but
for that
like
matter.
slightly different wording on the choices.
Like Planescape Torment has a way of doing that too, where like you have a ton of different dialogue. Like you'll have 2 of the same, like you'll say the same line, but one will be the regular line, and one will be lie.
Yeah.
But it's the exact same line.
Yeah, so I feel like that's just a thing that not only Telltale but adventure games, even games in general, could do could help with choices. Is we just need more options for reactions beyond A, B, or C, which that's really hard to do. But there's gotta be a breaking point where eventually people are like, look, like I feel like I'm just playing a game. Like eventually people are just become wise to this themselves.
Yeah, if you got rid of voice acting, it would make a lot of things easier, because instead of having to reshoot a scene or revoice a scene, you could just change a couple of text of string, which is.
I mean,
really
not only that. For like the lines they keep in, think of how many times they probably recorded those lines.
Yeah.
How many times they had to? And they would have to. It would be a lot easier to reiterate, because after a while, like if your voice actor's already finished their roles, you just kind of have to splice their lines together if you want to change it around, and that's going to be a lot easier said than done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a very complex issue.
Yeah. Definitely glad to discuss it, though. I think it's a very interesting discussion for Telltale's problems. Again, I hope to write about that when I finish Season 2, because there's other... the last thing I want to bring up, just because me and Brandon discussed it a little bit, was the idea that as the protagonist, no matter what you do, no matter how bad your decisions are, you continue on. Which kind of makes this thing of like, why don't I just throw Clem in harm's way constantly? Which even the characters get wise to that. We're like, hey, do you want to fit through this? Do you want to climb the ladder? Because it's like, why not? I can't die. Because if I die, it'll just either get me a game over, or the story will continue to the same endpoint anyway. So that's a bigger game problem, but again, it was something that I really noticed with The Walking Dead, when like everybody was constantly like, hey Clem, you should do this because you're the protagonist. You don't have any fear of death.
I just remember when we first talked about it, and you were like, I don't want to play because I lost my save for the first season, and I don't want to like import it. And I'm saying like, dude, it's not going to matter. Trust me.
Oh right, when I didn't want to replay the game, and you're like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm like, it literally doesn't matter, and now you know it all just changed like a couple of lines, and you'll still go through the same path.
Yeah, it's funny that I actually, when I first started up Season 2, I got really pissed because the randomized decision generator generated so I didn't kill Lee, which I did in my version of the game. And I was super pissed about that, but then guess what? Doesn't matter. It never gets brought up.
Yeah,
because every time Clementine talks about it, she just says, "Oh, my friend Lee." She never says, "My friend Lee," who I didn't have the courage to kill.
Well, you can have a heartfelt conversation with Kenny in the second episode, where you can say that you shot Lee.
Yeah, but it's like
That's
ultimately it doesn't matter. Nothing matters.
Yeah,
it kind of sucks, but like maybe after this season of games, they might do something a little different with that. I don't know. I do wonder if Telltale's even aiming to improve their systems, or if they've kind of locked into a certain point where like this is good enough and we'll just keep same system, different worlds.
Does this still make us millions of dollars? Okay, just keep doing it.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see Telltale in the future.
You see what I mean when I say the season 2 is just a little disappointing compared to season 1.
Yeah, but I feel like part of it is also just the newness is worn off. It's like the Far Cry 3 to 4 thing. Or it's just like, it's Walking Dead again, and people still are sad all the time, and everybody always dies, because of course they do. Like, I don't know. Like I said, that game just made me, like, again, I don't know if nihilist is the exact correct term, but it's kind of made me just hate everything, where I was just like, I don't care anymore.
I believe cynical is...
Yeah, cynical, that's the word. Nihilist is rejecting everything. Cynical is just hating everything. Anyway, last thing for me, because I don't want to drag on forever, is I did finish Saya No Uta, Song of Saya, which is the visual novel that I will now declare, until I find something else, to be the most disturbing piece of media I have ever experienced, I guess would be the right word. Because it's funny, when I talked about first playing it, and all my friends like who had read synopsis or whatever was like, yeah, it gets worse from here, and it's like, how does it get worse? Oh, it gets worse. There's some things I do not want to discuss on the podcast with it, because they're sensitive topics to some people. but needless to say, there is a lot of like violence and gore. But like we talked a little bit about this right before the podcast, but the third ending just became fascinating to me because the longer it goes on, the more it delves into like Lovecraftian style insanity. Because it reaches a certain point where one of the characters looks at the monster and it feels like it was just like a page ripped from Lovecraft, where he says like it's in third person. It was like if Koji was to set his eyes on that monster for one more second, he felt like the last remnants of his mind would shatter before him. Like, it's like the Cthulhu thing. Where it's like, if I look at this, I will go completely insane. Because it's like, the idea of, like, it's not reality. It makes no sense compared to the normal rules we've come to understand as our reality. And I find that stuff endlessly fascinating, which is why I love Lovecraft to death. Because of that kind of thing. And, again, I'm not going to spoil any of the endings because I highly, highly recommend you play this as long as you have the tolerance for that kind of stuff. Because I know a lot of people... you can read anywhere. They'll tell you all the problems with it. You know, it has lots of sexual themes, violence, gore, and all kinds of things. But if you can tolerate that, it's well worth playing. It is endlessly fascinating. So I am, like, really glad I played that. All the endings were nuts. I definitely want to write about that in visual novels. And I'm kind of psyched for it, too, just because I like the story a lot, and it got me back into visual novels. So I'm kind of willing to go back and play some of the older ones I played.
I see.
So, I can't talk about that much too much without saying it's really awesome. I think it's really, really worth checking out with your own copy rather than just watching it or reading about it. But I'm glad it exists. I thought it was very interesting. And
yeah, it's hard. It's hard to really talk about it without really spoiling
like,
some of the stuff.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is in the article I'm going to write, I'm going to spoil everything because that's the only way to fully explain why it's so interesting, which is the hard thing. Is like, a coworker asked me about it today at work, and I told him I finished it, and he's like, it sounds interesting, but what about this or this? And it's like, I can't say much more than what happens in the first hour or two.
It is a you know, choose your own adventure book. So
yeah, and it's like the writing is impeccable. The soundtrack is fantastic. You know, towards the end, like during some of the fight stuff, just the fucking soundtrack of just the sounds they've created. And I had a friend of mine who does music actually recreate some of the sounds for me, which was very interesting to see. But it's like the writing, soundtrack, the art, it's all cool. Anyway, I could probably gush about it forever, but that's what I have a website for. I'll write up. I am actually going to do a write-up, hopefully, on Valiant Hearts, Walking Dead, and Saya.
It's hard. I notice that I do this too sometimes, that when you can't spoil something because of the story, you end up gushing about it without actually saying a whole lot of anything.
I was really worried when I first started talking about it.
It's really hard to not do that because I know I've caught myself doing it several times in the past.
That's why I was really worried the first time I talked about this game, which I guess would be 2, maybe 3 weeks ago. When I first discussed it, I was worried that people would think I was overreacting when I said it was so awesome, but it's like, it's because I can't tell you why beyond just play it. So it's really
like when
hard
it comes to things that are spoilerific, if you have to just gush over it, even though it's not really saying much of anything. You just gotta try how you can convey that emotion.
Yeah, and because this game is all about, like, you know, the ride, sort of like the
journey,
downward spiral to insanity. It's, if I explain any one thing, it'll take away from the shock value of that, because there are multiple times in the latter half where it's like, you know, new image comes on, it's like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like, God.
Yep.
Just everything you see just becomes the worst thing that you've seen since the last worst thing you've seen. So yeah, if it sounds like I'm gushing, that's just because I am trying my damnedest not to explain anything to you. Also, fun fact, this thing apparently got a 3-comic American adaptation, and apparently it is pretty shit. Because it just takes the story and says, nah, it's about the government. Like, the whole thing is that, like, Sai was created by the government as a conspiracy. And I was like, fuck you! Stupid fucking... You took one of, like, the best stories I've seen in my life, written by no other than Gen Udobuchi, who has written some crazy awesome shit like Madoka, and said, nah, fuck it, it's about government conspiracies and shit.
I love how you say crazy shit like Monica, as if I have a clue at all what Monica is.
If you watch anime at all, you know what Monica
look it up.
It's
look it up.
It's a deconstruction of the magical girl genre
I'll
of
take
anime.
your word for it.
It's super dark. It's incredibly dark. Anyway, so fucking don't read the comic. And again, if you can play it in any way possible, I'd advise you to do that over reading about it. But if you can't for either monetary reasons or you don't think you can tolerate that, at least check out the story synopsis just to kind of know what it's about. Anyway, that's it for me. As long as you don't mind, Brandon, I really want to hear Chris talk about Assassin's Creed 3 and how much he loves it.
Oh, I know.
So the review's forthcoming, right, Chris?
Oh God. I don't think I.
4 out of 5 stars. 7 out of 10. IGN.
All right. So I finished not only the storyline of Assassin's Creed 3, but I also finished all 3 episodes of the Tyranny of King Washington DLC. Yes.
Charles Lee.
Because apparently I needed more gameplay from Assassin's Creed 3 after I finished it.
So what did you think about killing Charles Lee?
Charles Lee.
Charles Lee.
Oh God, that's the most underwhelming shit ever.
I know,
So,
right? I think we
here's
are
the
well within
thing.
our right to spoil this whole fucking game, so just crack it wide open.
Yes.
Spoiler Assassin's
Yes.
Creed 3. I'll let you know when it's over.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they prop up Charles Lee like he is the ultimate antagonist. He is the bane of all your problems and everything in this game. He is the antithesis of Connor, blah, blah, blah.
He has a mustache,
and, you know,
and he looks
killed
evil.
a village that one time.
But did he really? Did he really? Because the thing is, when you get, like, the final confrontation with Lee is you beat up some dudes, and then you chase after him, and that is it.
And then you both have a drink before you stab him.
Yeah, I was trying to remember. That was late dies, right? You sit down at a table at like a little tavern, and you just kind of...
And you both have a drink of beer.
Yeah.
Like before that happens, you're chasing him through this ship, which is apparently on fire, and they both fall. Connor gets fucking impaled on a piece of wood, and he's able to just pull it out and just limp along for miles.
Because he's
without
Keep in mind, as you were not taking damage, your synchronization improves. I mean, you get your health back.
Yeah, exactly. But like
game.
And first he shoots him after he pulls a chunk of wood out of his body. He shoots Lee, and then so Lee is wounded, and so is Connor. And at first, when he sits down at the table with him at like the tavern, I figured, oh, is this where they're gonna have like their little post-mortem white bullshit room conversation? Nope, he just stabs him right there and then there. Doesn't get any explanation out of him or whatever. Because the whole time we're kind of left because Hatham keeps saying, "Hey, idiot, we didn't burn your village, moron," and then. The whole time, we never get any confirmation, like, was Lee acting on his own? Did he do it just to be an ass? Like, what? We never get an answer.
Yeah, I understand that was just him, his little personal touch.
But wasn't
as far
it like,
as I know.
like
he never says.
I could have sworn like he
something
said
like
he
that.
wanted
I
the land
guess
for
I don't
development,
know.
But like, it's Lee, so of course he has to do it in the most asinine way possible. Like, just
there's no kill like overkill.
Such a bad villain, and that ending scene is kind of like so high concept that the game doesn't deserve. Where it's like these people are not good enough characters to have a drink and casually kill each other.
I know.
Like it acts like it's some kind of high art film.
These are not cowboys at high noon.
Yeah, like that feels like something like Spec Ops could do or something. It's not like Assassin's Creed 3.
Yeah, like there wasn't like a boss fight or anything. No, it was just I chased a dude and then cutscene, done. And not to mention like the epilogue, you're basically running around shit. Like I think even after the credits go, you have the opportunity to like run around and like. And by the way, in case anybody is wondering what I think of Desmond's story, I kind of don't give a shit because they don't really seem to touch on it too much afterwards. And I will say, like, I kind of feel as if Ubisoft, or not Ubisoft, but the developers were kind of propping this up as like, if we were going to close out Assassin's Creed as a trilogy, this is how we could say it's done. And then we'll give the player some stupid choice at the end. Nope. It's just Desmond's like, no, there's not enough time. We need to stop this. Because, like, your choices are, one, you let the apocalypse happen, and then you and the few people that survive get to remake the world where it's not as shit. And then, but eventually, life being what it is, the cycle's going to continue, and then, like, yes, it's Desmond's choice of, like, no matter what, it's like, they basically present Desmond with this choice of like, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you don't let the precursor person take over the world, like she wants
It's
to.
Fallout.
Well, yeah, it's Fallout, and then it's like, life can start anew, but then conflicts are going to keep going again and again, so it doesn't really matter if you let them go. So it really doesn't matter. Because, and then Desmond's like, no, it's done, and I got to do this, and then it's like, okay, whatever. So I kind of don't give a shit. And not to mention, the way the two, precursor characters, Minerva and Juno, were talking, they basically acted like when they start having their conversation, I was like, wait. You mean to tell me that there were precursor assassins and Templars going down each other's necks too? And then you want to bitch that, oh, you assassins and Templars wasted so much time. Now there's no time. And it's like, but you guys were bitching at each other too. And this is the overarching message of Assassin's Creed. There's always going to be conflict. No shit. That's how life works. Life wages war on itself. And then you want to act like fuck your message,
it's like this big
Ubisoft.
revelation of life, and it's like I can read enough history books to tell you this is not a huge deal.
I know.
Yeah, it's so dumb. It just falls up its own ass about conflict and what.
It's like the table scene at the end of Connor's thing, where it's like it feels like you said it falls up its own ass like a high art film that it's not.
Yeah.
Like it's all of a sudden just super oh, look at us and how fancy we are, all this high concept shit.
That scene as a whole, beginning, middle, and end, makes sense. When you throw that high concept scene to the context that it's supposed to be in, we lost you.
Yeah. Now, getting back to Connor, Desmond's story was spoiled for me about the year this game came out, so I didn't really care. But I had no idea what happened to Connor at the end of all this stuff. So you get to the bar scene, and then you get to all the stuff where it's like after the credits roll, you're walking around, and you see, oh, the British are leaving, and then all the stuff, and then it's like your people left the land, and Connor's like, why'd my people go? And it's like, this is the part in U.S. history where they start fucking over the Native Americans, I guess. And Connor's just kind of sitting there. The whole time I'm thinking, Connor must feel like he really fucked up.
I actually kind of like that.
Yeah, dude, like no matter what he did, history will continue to fuck him over.
Because it was like, you know what? After all you've been through, after everything you've done, what did you actually get out of all of this?
Nothing.
What did you actually seriously get out of all of this?
He got the homestead.
Nothing.
But yeah, he got
that sick.
You got nothing that you wanted out of this.
But I think Garrett's trying to get in. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he posted that smiley face.
Yeah, it just fucking I kind of felt like it's like Altair. He did this stuff to stop the dude from taking over Jerusalem, and then there's Ezio, who did all kinds of crazy shit across 3 games, stopping the Templars and the Pope and whatever. Connor, he's the one that fucked up. I seriously sat there thinking, you know what? Maybe the Templars were right, dumbass. Maybe you should have listened to Hatham. That's what you get.
Look what else may happen. Your people are gone. Slavery's still around. What did you actually seriously earn out of all this? I'm not gonna lie. I actually like that.
I think that
I think
sorry, I'm losing my words. I like the idea of a story that doesn't have a perfect happy ending.
Yeah.
I like morally ambiguous endings. I like sad endings, or just things that's and you can get really oversaturated with that kind of thing about no matter what you do, it doesn't matter. But that is one of the better parts of the game, and that's a general good thing about Assassin's Creed, is the idea that since they're all in history, no matter what you do, history has already been told, and we already know what'll happen.
Yeah.
It's same to Assassin's Creed 1, the Crusades go on. It's there's still going to be, 10 other Crusades?
Yeah.
It's it doesn't really matter.
But,
yeah, you're in the 3rd Crusades. There's already been 2 before that.
Yeah.
In Altair's time.
But with Connor, the only other things I did on the side, aside from the stuff where you recruit assassins, I did the homestead missions. Those were actually kind of interesting.
Yeah, because that's where Connor has to actually show off that he's more than just a gruff-faced idiot.
Yeah, because Connor in the main story has 2 emotions: stern and pissed. That's it. That's really
it's so bad.
In the homestead, where the voice actor can actually get the chance to voice act.
Yeah, he actually he's happy about
actually pretty good at his job.
Yeah. So, and the Homestead mission, this was the only time I cared about any of the characters in this game aside from Hatham, was when, you do all this stuff, and then they had that big funeral scene for Achilles.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, this should have been in the main story!
There's actually a post-game side quest where you can earn Achilles' robes.
I did that. That was actually, like, I kind of wore that during the last couple chapters of now I am super badass, but not really. So yeah, like the Homestead missions, that really was like the biggest time I cared about the characters and what was going on. Like I actually got a little choked up
because you get because there are all these little people that you just over the course of the game you just get to know a bit better and you just form relationships with them. Like
Achilles and Hatham are going to be the characters I remember the most out of this, basically. And, just holy shit. Like, the fact that was a side mission, like, I felt like that should have been in the main fucking story.
Yeah, like, I remember the two brothers who chopped wood for a living. I remember that doctor. I remember the pregnant wife.
Yeah.
I remember those characters. I don't remember their names or their faces, but I remember...
Not to mention the fact, like, it kind of blew my mind, like, oh god, this painting was Achilles' family, and Connor was named after his son! Oh my god!
Yeah.
Oh, man! Like, that got me. I was like, oh, man. Yeah. So that was probably the highlight of Assassin's Creed 3, though. Then I had to go back to the main fucking story mission, and stab Lee at a table. Fucking. And the optional missions can still fuck themselves. And by the way,
if memory serves, that last mission does give you the don't bump civilians again.
I think so, yeah, and it's really stupid. And don't take damage from fire, which I kind of couldn't avoid because I didn't know where the fuck to go.
Oh my god, I don't know how many times I retried the mission to get the optional objectives, even though I eventually did it. I was like, I remember being frustrated as all hell.
Yeah, so, I just remember the game saying, like, you've unlocked some multiplayer content. I don't give a shit.
Tell me about this DLC.
Yeah, like, I never played it, and I was always curious about if it was any good.
Yeah, same here.
So, Tyranny of King Washington, like, to kind of briefly describe it, it starts out, and Connor acts like he doesn't know what the fuck is going on, because in this one, Connor's not an assassin. His mom is still alive. He's got, like, this... He's actually got a cool costume for this, like the sick-ass wolf hood that he wears and all kinds of stuff.
Does he have the memories from the first game, though? Like,
he does have his memories of the game, and it's like he's only familiar with the stuff that's going on in the main story. He doesn't, like, he sees the fact his mom is alive and other, like, the friend...
so
dude.
He knows exactly what we know and nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah. Like Kenna Dokon is alive and shit, and he doesn't know why. But then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, George Washington has the apple, and he's fucking enslaving people because he's a super asshole here for some reason.
Well, and in Assassin's Creed lore, he's a Templar.
God damn it! This fucking
but,
game!
Like,
George Washington's a Templar.
Yeah, but but the whole thing was like the Tyranny of King Washington, the whole big deal is that he's got the apple.
Yeah.
And he's just fucking controlling people and just executing anybody that doesn't like him or whatever. So, and like Benedict Arnold and Israel Putnam are like his two henchmen. And the first episode you assassinate Arnold, and the second one you assassinate Putnam, and then the last one is when you go after George Washington. And it kind of plays out like an Elseworld story. But to kind of briefly, sum it up, at the very end of it, when you fight against Washington, you realize what happens is, after the last boss fight in that DLC, is both Washington and Connor, like, kind of wake up and find out that, it was all just a vision that the apple, I guess, was showing us. And
wait,
George
is it
Washington,
a vision during the part where the Elder gives you the apple and Connor goes on that weird psychological trip?
No, this is like for some reason. For some reason, it's like both George Washington and Connor were holding the apple, and like
which doesn't make sense because Connor hates Washington at that point in the game.
It's weird. I guess it could take place. It doesn't really specifically state if it's post game or not. It's just for some reason like Washington and Connor are both holding the apple, and then when they wake up for whatever vision this DLC took place in. Washington's all like, you totally need to get rid of this thing. I don't want to be that guy. And Connor's like, yeah, nobody should have this, and they just fucking chuck it into the bottom of the ocean. That's basically what goes on story-wise.
So does that mean it's canon?
It's technically canon from what I'm hearing, but I mean, it's like Persona Q canon where it doesn't actually matter because nothing actually like really happened.
Yeah.
But it happened in their minds.
Yeah, it happened in a vision. That was it. And then, like I said, George Washington saw all that shit, and he's like, no, totally, you need to get rid of this. I don't want to be that dude. And Connor's like, yeah, this is really bad. So they chuck it in the bottom of the ocean. That's basically the end of it. So I
want to hear Connor Gruffface say, yeah, that's really bad.
The way he says it is like, no man should hold any one power that is.
Of course he did, because he can't just say things like in 3 words.
He can't just speak like a normal human, like Ezio maybe, or
like,
Edward.
Super bad. But
it's like, dude,
from
this
a
is
gameplay,
super fucking bad, man.
Like, I remember the first scene with Ezio Assassin's Creed 2. He's making fun of Vari. Vari's like, he does some joke, and Ezio's like, basically, that's not what your sister said.
Hey!
From a gameplay standpoint, this is only slightly more interesting because it still has a good number of bullshit optional objectives that you were never going to do. They are not worth it. Because there's one near the end of it where like you're going through Washington's palace and he straight up has a zoo in there, and you're supposed to go in some of the cages. Yeah. You're supposed to go in some of the cages and analyze clues, and like one of the optional objectives is don't kill any of the animals. But it's like, you told me to go into this cage. This fucking jaguar attacks me every single time. I can't do it.
Man, it started sounding like Far Cry 3 over here. Fucking animals attacking you.
Yeah, don't worry, it'll be clear on my end. But, yeah, so the optional objectives are still shit. But the thing that made this slightly more interesting is the fact that in each episode, Connor gets a new animal power. And the way this works is there's this great willow tree that if they drink the tea from the leaves, it lets them go on a quote-unquote sky journey, and basically what happens is it does the white animus glass room bullshit, and like I don't know how Connor's psyche isn't just fucking shattered seeing all this high-tech bullshit unfold in front of him, but they just call it sky journey, like he's having a bad trip, and then you see like glass shard animals and shit attacking him or whatever. But you do this 3 times, one for each episode. The first one, you get the power of the wolf, which gives you a temporary stealth cloak. And the second one, you get the power of the eagle, which allows you to fly, essentially. It works more like short-range teleportation. And then in the third one, you get the strength of the bear, which is you get to do this stomp attack, which just wrecks dudes, which is kind of cool.
Is it like a shockwave kind of thing?
Yeah, he just makes this big shockwave.
Okay, yeah.
Well, the thing is, I say temporary, but what I really mean by that is when you use the stealth cloak, it drains your health.
Oh,
and
okay.
So, you can run, and the thing is, he moves really quick, too. Like, you don't even have to hold down the run button, he just moves quick. So you can go from, one bush to another, regenerate your health, and then sneak around again.
So
it's
kind of game the
cool.
system.
It kind of felt like it breaks the game, but... And the whole thing, the thing I thought was funny is, his mom is all telling him, no, you totally shouldn't drink the tea, it's bad, it changes you, it's horrible. But then, after you get those abilities...
You get mystic powers.
Yeah, it's who wouldn't want...
turn invisible, man. You seeing this?
I would drink that tea every fucking day of the week for a whole day.
A sick-ass ground pound, and it's but it does things to you. No, Mom, it's cool. I can regenerate. It's no
Mom,
big
it's cool.
deal.
I regenerate health at a pretty steady rate. Thank you.
I can just resynchronize with Desmond, and it's fine. Trust me.
No, it's
Desmond. Who is this Desmond?
The only bad part of it is that you lose health when you use those, but it's not really a big deal because you regenerate pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And that's basically it. So yeah,
basically a timer.
Yeah, I kind of use them pretty often, and near the end of the game, you're pretty much required to, because you can't do the final boss without using them or anything, as well as some of the traversal stuff. And also, just quick side note, when you get the power of the bear and you get that stomp attack, because I was born near the 80s and stuff, I kept wanting to quote this old 80s cartoon called Brave Star, and this guy just goes, "Strength as a bear," and he just does the ground pound. Old people like myself
I don't
might
get
know
that
what that
reference at all. I'm just going to laugh just to make sure that people think I do, even though I have no idea what you're talking about.
Just look up Brave Star. You'll see what I'm talking about. But yeah. So that took me like 5 hours to get through that DLC.
Jesus.
Which is about as long as it took me to get the fucking assassin robes in the main game. But yeah.
How about them Ubisoft credits?
Oh my God!
You could go get a college degree in the time it takes to get those credits going.
Oh shit! Oh my God! Like
after Assassin's Creed 3, I took to a tradition of every time I finished an Ubisoft game, I would time the credits.
Mhm.
I can't wait to get to that point in IF.
Assassin's Creed Rogue, 20 minutes.
Oh my God!
But after being done with the story, done with the DLC, I was so glad to I was like, I breathed a sigh of relief. I was like, I'm not touching this game again. I have.
I can't imagine.
I've put myself through this hell that I myself chose to go through.
We kept telling you.
Yeah.
I had to do it. I had to do it.
Let the record show that Sam and I both warned you multiple times.
Like the thing is though, if it was me, I would have been the same thing. Where it's like I have to know. The more that we told you not to play it, the more you had to know.
I paid $8 for this game.
Not worth it.
Nope. No.
Yeah.
I got it for free with my graphics card. I don't think it was worth it.
You think the Raptor should refund you for giving you the copy of the game?
Give me my free money back.
Yeah. It's like I don't want it. It's like that episode of Family Guy. It's like, here's a DVD. What dreams may come? I do not want it. It's free. If that DVD touches my mind, I will kill you. Like, so yeah, now I can get started on other stuff, which is my next game that I want to start doing is
Assassin's Creed games.
Yeah, because like I said, AC3 was really where I fell off the wagon for the series, and I'd kind of been meaning to go back to it simply because I heard so many good things about some of the...
Like I said, I had a friend, a coworker who said, I felt bad. I was a huge Assassin's Creed fan until 3, and I felt bad because I just never got into it. I told my friend, like, look, watch a Let's Play if it's that big a deal for you. If it's that big a deal for you, just watch the Let's Play. It's not worth your time.
Yeah. I mean, but like I said, now I've got Liberation HD, which I'm going to be playing through that next, so...
Yeah.
I guess I should play through that, too.
Yeah.
Liberation HD is really good, trust me, guys.
Yeah. Other than turning 33, I didn't really do a whole much else, so...
Party!
Yeah, I got some other games that are going to be added to the backlog.
Yeah.
That's shit for Christmas I didn't even touch yet.
Yeah, I mean, you still got Dragon Age, which we tried to play that multiplayer after it came out.
Oh, God!
My legs! Why are my legs doing this?
Fucking wet noodle leg.
I think I still have a recording of that somewhere. I don't know. It's the most... What a fucking great glitch.
Oh, man. But that's pretty much my week, to sum it up.
Alright.
Hey, that is enough for me. I'm okay with this.
I like how your week was like, I finished Assassin's Creed 3. I came out a changed man.
Oh, God.
That game changes people, man. Saya No Uta changed me for the rest of my life.
Assassin's Creed 3 is by far the worst game in the entire series.
I agree with that totally. I know that first.
Everyone you play, it's all uphill from here, baby.
Me, Chris, it is all uphill from here. You cannot go any lower.
I still question that. I question that.
You cannot go any lower than Assassin's Creed 3.
No matter how bad
Unity
is, it is not as bad as 3.
Trust me on this one. I have played all of them.
Me too.
I will find that out for myself eventually when I play through all these.
I played through everyone except Liberation HD. But I played for...
Liberation is flawed, but nowhere near as flawed as 3 was.
Oh. Alright. Well, if you're done, then I guess we just got Brandon.
Yep.
Okay, I mean,
Oh, shit! I unplugged my headphones. We're good.
A lot of my time this week has been spent playing a bit more Diablo 3.
Yeah, Diablo.
You're playing on PS4, right?
Correct. And I beat the main story, and now I'm going through Reaper of Souls expansion.
Mm-hmm.
and I've been having a lot of fun with that. One story I wanted to touch on is that me and my partner we killed a rainbow goblin during our journey, and and it opened a portal, and we found ourselves in a land full of flowers and ponies, and all that, fresh, ripe for the killing.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
So we slaughtered a lot of ponies.
That's a secret area. And the thing was, like, I remember that used to be very difficult to get to. Like, there were 5 things you had to collect, and the drop rate on those was really low.
I never saw it myself, but... You know.
It was hilarious. We spent that whole, 20 minutes of exploring that area just laughing our asses off.
And the thing was, part of that was, I think, part of it is, it kind of makes reference to Diablo 2, the Cow Realm, which is where it was like the secret area you could go to, and it would infinitely spawn just demon cows that you could get all kinds of loot and experience out of. So that's part of it. And the other thing was, it's kind of a joke to people who bitched about Diablo 3 when it was originally showed off.
Yeah.
Because apparently it was a lot more bright and colorful than that, and then people didn't like
My
it
Little
that
Pony reference.
It's probably an excuse for them to do that, but it's not just because of My Little Pony.
I would definitely believe the bright, colorful thing, because that was a huge deal when that game first got shown.
I thought it's weird seeing this grim, dark sorcerer and monk fighting against ponies.
I still can't believe that people are so pissed about the look of 3, because I think it looks incredible. I love the look of 3. Compared to even 2 and 1, I like it much better.
There are sometimes where I think it just uses way too much of the gray-brown palette, but that's just me.
But compared to what it could have looked like with 2 and 1, that's what I mean.
I saw Diablo 2 and 1 pictures. It look a lot darker in those games.
The idea that people want it to continue to look like that really bothered me. I was like, dude, I want more color. Fucking bring out the particle effects.
You can make a dark story while using color. Dishonored did that very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Diablo.
But I remember I was just having a lot of fun. I got a spear in that, a legendary spear that I actually ended up using for almost the rest of the game.
Yeah, you get some really good loot out of that area.
It's just 12,000 life gain per hit. And that's all you really need.
I remember by the time I got to Reaper's Souls, I had a particular axe or something like that actually summoned spirit cows to fight with me. It was the flavor text was something along the lines of summons bovine guards to help you in your duty.
Right now I am level 70. I'm Paragon level 20, I think 28.
Jesus Christ.
You level up a lot, really level up really quickly without all the bullshit.
Yeah, I never hit max level in that game. I think that's 40 or 50.
I mean, we just ended up just playing through the game and we just got max level. Because they changed it a lot since the game came out.
Just go back and
real quick. Did anybody get with Garrett to see if he could get in yet, or is he still?
No.
Okay. Because I know he messaged us. So.
But one thing I find with Diablo is that it's hard for me to find difficulty that's just right. I'm finding that either it ends up being a little too on the easy side, where I'm just blowing through tons of moves and not really thinking about it, or it becomes a bit too hard, where I'm just sitting there hitting X, dodging every once in a while, where I'm not really, but it's taking forever for one enemy to die. I'm finding it difficult finding a happy medium between blowing them out and you're taking far too long to die.
What difficulty are you playing on?
Right now I'm on Torment 2.
Okay. Yeah, I played on hard for my first and only run.
Yeah, you really have to.
Yeah, normal is way too easy. Even hard, when me and Chris, we faced the final boss together, I didn't move the entire time.
Nope.
Not a step.
My partner and I, we started on hard, and we just found it was far too easy. We were blowing through everything.
I bet if hard
and
is
then we unlocked harder
difficulty,
so we kept going up.
Diablo's weird.
And even on Torment 2, I'm finding it. I'm just kind of it's a decent balance, but it's still finding it a little too on the easy side. This is a game where I'm finding it hard to find the balance between what is just right for me and what is too high.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
No, definitely.
Yeah, it's
because you don't want to just sit there and just wait for the numbers to go down, because that's equally as boring as just blowing through everyone. At least for me.
would almost say that's part of what Diablo is.
That is pretty much the entire game, but I'm also wondering whether or not these kinds of loot-based games are right for me, because I've played through 2 of them so far: Borderlands, well, I guess the Borderlands series between 1 and 2, and Diablo, and Torchlight. I can't really say I've enjoyed playing any of them.
Torchlight's fucking good, though.
Although I dropped it like a lead weight, and I'm not even entirely sure why. I forgot why I stopped playing Torchlight.
I want to fucking go back to
I never actually finished that game.
I want to.
Like, the only thing that's ever really... the only one of those that ever really appealed to me is Dragon's Crown. It's more of a beat-em-up than an actual, like...
I totally fucking abandoned that game. Because I remember
I
played it during
I just recently went back to it, and I'm comparing it to Diablo 3. It's actually really interesting how
different they are.
How you compare and contrast them.
Yeah. I remember I played that game really heavily for a few days during the point when I had family over, and I was just sitting on the couch bed I had in my computer room, and we kept talking about how we were going to play it because, PS3 Vita copies, for both. And then I just completely forgot. Oops.
As tends to happen.
Yeah. I mean,
I still got it.
I still got my copy. I've got a lot of shit to
We'll probably all play together sometime.
Yeah. I need to get a capture kit so I can record console stuff.
But aside from Diablo 3, my other big games of the week, and I'm tying them together because they're related, is Infamous Second Son.
Mm-hmm.
And the First Light DLC for Second Son, which is a standalone.
Yeah, every time I hear that, I always get confused with Metro Last Light.
Yeah.
Like, every time someone brings it up, I think they're talking about Metro.
So I'm going to start talking about Second Son, then we'll just shift into First Light a little later in the conversation.
Yeah. Do remember, I have to go to sleep in a few hours.
And that's fair.
And I'll be right back, because I have to use the restroom.
Oh, don't leave me, Chris. Alright.
So do you know anything about the Infamous franchise, Sam?
I've played the first 2.
Okay, so...
There's the big guy.
So,
on
canonically, they decided if they were going to make the good ending of Infamous 2 the canonical one.
Which is the one where...
Cole sacrificed himself and all of the conduits to save the world. Of course, it turns out that he didn't kill all of them, just only 90% of them.
Ah, naturally.
The other ones just kind of missed it for arbitrary reasons. They don't, even in the lore, they say we don't know why they didn't die, just that they didn't die.
That is so funny. Just like, I don't fucking know. Magic? I don't know.
Yeah, like that. As for why they didn't all die, who knows? That's through the in-game explanation.
So how is Infamous Second Son? Is it better than Infamous 1 and 2?
It's not as good.
Okay,
but it's not bad.
I'm not gonna buy it.
See, your new character is named Delson Rowe.
Okay.
And like all conduits, he has one element that he's good at channeling. Unlike other conduits, that element is other conduit powers.
You had to hit that roadblock at some point, didn't you?
So his ability is that he can drain and use other conduits' powers.
Is it bad that every time I hear that, I keep thinking about like a bunch of little kids playing superheroes, whatever? It's like, my abilities to have every ability. Well, fuck you, Johnny. No, fuck you. I can have all the abilities in the game.
It is a lot like that.
It's like, I get it, and I think it works as far as expanding what you can do, because in 2 they added like the fire and ice stuff.
Yeah.
But at some point, it's just kind of like, isn't this even power fantasy for a power fantasy superhero game? It's a little bit much to just say I have all the powers. Like, does it ever feel like that?
He has
4.
He can't use the power until he's drained someone that already has that power.
Right.
So he first starts off with smoke, not fire, smoke.
Yeah, I found that really interesting. How does it play though? The smoke. Does it play like fire?
Well, not really. Like, I mean, the projectiles are kind of like embers, not really fire per se.
Okay.
Like, it's smoke and embers.
Sure. Because fire was already used once. Can't retreat that.
What you can do is you can throw sulfur grenades, which they don't hurt your enemy, but they make them start coughing. and when they're on a coughing fit, they're very vulnerable. So you can subdue them or eliminate them in a single blow because they're too busy coughing to defend themselves.
I'm gonna not make a joke I thought about.
And
The
also
other ones are
you can
neon,
shoot
concrete, and
video.
Excuse me?
The last power is video.
Excuse me?
Actually,
I don't think video is
you
an
unlock
element.
You unlock concrete last because the whole story is that there is this organization called the DUP, and their goal is to basically lock up or kill all the conduits in the world because they're believed to be far too dangerous to be walking the streets.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around video.
We'll get to
My
that later.
power is video.
So the head woman who runs the DUP is actually a conduit herself,
Okay.
and she has concrete powers.
I'm back. Who was talking shit about me?
Me?
I was.
So,
Damn it!
So, Chris, let me tell you about my power of video. I can shoot video at you with my hands. I can use my video double jump, and
We'll talk about that
I
later.
can shoot video grenades. You following this, Chris?
Can you shoot porn videos? Like, can you?
I'd like to know that, Brandon. Can you shoot pornography
Let's
at your
get to the story
enemies?
of a second.
That'd be a cool power.
An organization called the DUP that is out trying to round up all of these conduits, which they now label as bioterrorists, just to make the whole war on terror analogy perfectly clear.
Oh God.
Alternative title for the episode: Video Grenades. I like that. That's
So the head of the DUP, whose goal is to imprison or kill all of the conduits, is a
also
conduit herself,
naturally.
who
But does
has
she do
concrete
it-
powers.
Does she do it for power? Like, does she want to take over the world, or does she not use her
Her
own powers?
goal, her actual goal, like on paper, their goal is to eliminate or imprison all the conduits. In actuality, her goal is that she doesn't think that people will ever accept conduits, so she wants to like make a paradise for them that's away from all the other people.
So, like an X-Men sort of situation.
Kinda. She's kind of like the Magneto, except doesn't want to kill everyone, just wants to let all the mutants just have their own mutant island.
Sure, that'll go well. Except Assassin's Creed 3 taught me that everybody has conflict. There will always be conflict.
Oh God.
But yeah, so a bunch of conduits break out from they're being transported to another facility, so they break out in the middle of the transport, and it happens to be right where Delsin is living. So he accidentally absorbs smoke powers because his power is once again to absorb other powers.
So how does he do that
Oh.
physically? Does he have to like touch somebody, or is he just near them?
If he has to actually physically touch the conduit who has that power.
And they have to be dead, or can they be
No,
alive?
they can be alive or dead.
Okay.
Like you
Pretty cool.
actually end up you spend facing the first like few cutscenes chasing the guy who you got smoke powers from.
Ah.
Because at first Delsin's like, "Oh shit, I'm a bioterrorist now. People are going to come after me," and he thinks that the smoke guy can fix this because he hasn't realized that his power is to absorb powers yet.
Right. So he's basically an empty shell of a conduit.
Pretty
Never
much.
knew he was one. Okay.
Either that, or he's,
Like I said, every conduit has the ability to channel one element, but his element that he channels is other conduit powers.
Like
yeah,
video.
that basically makes him like the most powerful one, almost like fucking Peter Petrelli from Heroes. Like,
Yeah, you missed a small thing earlier, Chris, when I said this reminds me of a bunch of kids playing, and some kid just going, "My power is all the powers." It's like that's what it reminds me of.
he's Eric Cartman.
Yeah, it's just the Eric
Yeah.
Cartman of this universe.
So when your Native American tribe refuses to give you up because Native Americans all protect each other.
Wait a second, there's Native Americans in this?
Oh, you didn't know that. I was going to draw the comparison
No.
between him and Connor.
Oh fuck!
So
He's
how
voiced
did-
by Troy Baker, so it's cool, okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
Uh,
Troy Baker's super white. It's okay. Which, now that I think about that, that's the first time I actually thought about that. Why wouldn't they get a Native American guy to play a Native American character?
Because it's Troy Baker.
Anyway, how do they treat that though? Like, is it just out of the way? Do they treat it respectfully? Is it really
doesn't even
weird?
come up that often, honestly.
So does it
Because
affect the
like
character
once
in
you
any
get
way?
to, because like all the Native Americans there is to set up the initial plot point where she has tortured them all because they don't want to give her any information. So there is concrete shards like embedded in their flesh that doctors can't remove. The only way to remove them is to use the same power. So Delson has the idea, like, if I can absorb other powers, I'll just take her concrete powers and remove the shards myself.
Okay.
So that's why you're going to Seattle, so you can drain the head bitch of the DUP and get her concrete powers.
Yeah. I remember hearing about the Native American stuff when the game first came out, but at least to my understanding, and I think you already confirmed this, is that even though that is a unique background that very little characters have in video games, they don't seem to use it for
really
anything.
come up that often.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like it needs to be like this is.
Well, it's not like it should
what makes
define
their
him,
character.
but
Like,
it could.
yeah.
It's kind of a wasted opportunity when it's like, if he's not gonna be a standard, Anglo-Saxon white guy, do something with it. Like, bring in some of the cultural stuff and how he interacts with people. I don't know. Maybe some people prefer that he is treated like every other person. That's a really tough subject to handle when it comes to characters. But I feel like if you're gonna go out of your way to say these Native Americans show the reservation and all that they could have done a bit more.
Yeah, so like the whole story is him like just trying to find other powers to leech off of so that he can become strong enough to fight the head bitch of the DUP at the end of the game.
Like video.
So yeah, the first power you get is smoke, which, as I told Sam earlier, like it's basically almost like fire, except you can dash through vents to shoot yourself up really high in the air, and you can also go right through since you're smoke, you can turn yourself into smoke. You can just go right through like chain link fences because smoke can go through fences.
I've seen it happen once.
Yes. And you can throw smoke grenades that you can use to choke enemies so that they're vulnerable so you can subdue them or eliminate them. Because, every conduit now seems to have the ability where they can just, use their element to bind you to the ground for, no real reason. It doesn't make sense how smoke binds you to the ground, but that just happens.
Yeah, I feel like that was kind of a
Why
funny
not?
gameplay contrivance of having all those powers, is that
Or
they
how,
all do the same things. Like, there's always a grenade, a missile, a special jump.
Yeah, like I said, smoke special jump is that it can go through vents to shoot itself high in the air.
But again,
the next power you get is neon, which is by far the most fun to use.
Yeah. I just feel like, before you go on, that's kind of also a waste opportunity where
It
every
is.
power
It really
could have had
is.
unique attacks and specials. Instead,
They
all
do
do
have
the same thing.
It's the same attack with different properties.
Yeah, but it's like, it could have been that only one has a
Yes.
special type of grenade and only one does a machine gun sort of thing. But instead, it's like they all do the same stuff.
Because the thing with Neon that's really cool is that their dash lets them. The Neon dash can go right up walls, and if there's enough upgrades, you can just have you can just dash infinitely.
Yeah, it's kind of like
which makes it by far the
that.
most fun to walk around the world with, because you can just hold circle and just have a wee really fun time.
I do like having really fun times.
Yeah, so do I. That's why I bought a Wii U.
It's right. Because I would like to play.
And the combat powers for Neon is that their grenade is stasis grenade, so you can throw it, and then you can have the enemies go into a stasis field, and then you can use that for more accurate aiming because they're vulnerable while they're in stasis, and if you shoot them while they're in stasis, they'll be subdued.
We're getting to my favorite one soon.
And the other power is that they have precision from Infamous 1 and 2, where they can accurately aim shots in slow motion.
Okay. Go on.
Next is, you get this later, you get the power of video.
Go on. Tell me about
Basically,
video. The element of video.
The
I'm not
content you
hanging
get
up
the
on
video
this.
from really likes video games. So he uses his video power to project video game characters into the real world.
How does superpowers work?
I
don't understand. How is video an element?
And Delson uses that by he turns his chain into a sword from a D&D campaign that he can hit things with.
You're killing me here.
Like a two-handed sword.
You're killing me.
And his dash ability is that he can project video wings you can use to fly.
Can I just say that, like,
Video!
I like video games and I like Infamous, but this sounds really dumb.
And he can shoot himself off of a satellite dish to get even extra height. Because, it's video.
Like, just every time you say the element of video, like
I know.
smoke, fire,
What?
ice, electricity, neon, that's a little bit of a stretch, concrete,
Well, no,
a little bit, video!
In the lore, they say that a conduit will get anything they can channel, but it doesn't have to be something that's natural. It can be something that's man-made. Like, there is a conduit whose element is paper.
But even, like, I
In
watched
story.
Read or Die. Paper's pretty cool to, like,
Or,
paper bend.
there's another conduit whose power is wire.
Video!
Just any wire.
Video's like
don't-
an amalgamation of different things coming together to project fucking particles and shit into your eye. Oh, fucking no. Paper sounds cooler. Like, the idea of, like, fucking paper.
There's a whole DLC quest surrounding it's a free DLC quest. More like because what happens, you have parts of it you have parts of it that's in the game, and parts of it that you actually go to a website to play.
I really, really, really hope we don't see a conduit who just controls poop.
Oh, yes, all the shit in the world. You can imagine what he could do if he could just uproot the city by the pipes. The whole world would bow to him and his powers of shit. It kind of reminds me of
you can shoot video projectiles at people.
That kind of reminds me that there's
projectiles in video.
That really reminds me that there's a character in a anime series called Towaru Majiso no Index where his power is vectors, where like if he touches someone he can change the velocity of their blood and cause them like to just bleed out. And that kind of made me the same thing. That's like, imagine the guy who controls shit, just like everybody gets constipated and he's like, I will let you shit when you let me rule the world, and then you will shit for days. Weeks of shit!
PC volcanoes explode out of the sewers.
On the other hand, he'd be very regular.
Yes.
By the way, that's
So
our
like, I
episode.
defy
his
you,
powers.
great shit lord! I will make your ass a volcano!
That should be our video title.
Turn his powers up.
That should be our title for this week. Poop conduit.
Strange shit to charge powers.
It's like poop conduit or shit lord.
They got the whole title, Conduit or Shitlord.
Oh, great. The power of video and shit.
And the last power you get, which you don't get until the final boss, is concrete.
I liked it better. We're talking about paper. Just having a moment here thinking about this. Tell me about
Are you still
concrete.
thinking about the video?
I'm still thinking about video
Okay,
and
here's my
shit.
question.
Now think about video
Here's
and
my-
shit.
Here's my question. Like, okay, you have the power to control concrete. What is the difference between controlling that or stone?
Effectively none. Flat out. Specifically, she can control concrete. Like, the mix of things together in concrete is what she can control.
I mean, to be fair, if you're going to argue that, then couldn't you argue neon versus other sources of light? Like, where does the where do you draw the line?
Yeah,
Is it the exact chemical makeup that we consider to be neon? Is it the
It's
exact...
specifically neon gas.
Am I wrong for questioning this?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, you're very
Chris,
wrong.
you yourself were the one that said it's a comic book. Deal with it.
I know.
That's something that
but,
you yourself have said in the past.
Yeah, but
yeah.
fucking video. Video. I can't get over that.
Yeah, that basically lets him project holograms into the real world, and he can charge his video by draining the video from any TV source.
I'm really debating calling this episode "Shit Conduit," but I'm afraid that might drive some people away, or gather some new people. Who knows?
How about the power of video?
Video killed the shit conduit. Ah! Oh, that's. I'm just.
And as always, the infamous karma system makes its return.
And it's pretty bad.
And I have been a vocal critic of the karma system.
It really is kind of
The
dumb.
very first infamous game.
In the first one, I thought it was fine, and by the time the second one rolled around, I was like, this has already been beaten by the likes of, like, Witcher 2 and such. Like, plenty of games that come out between 1 and 2 that did karma systems better.
And this game, it's
Johnny
even
George is
weirder
gonna do
because
that.
the choices just don't seem to be that different from one another, but one is labeled good, one is labeled evil. For example, there are several side quests where since Delson loves spray painting walls, that's like doing graffiti and tags, that's a hobby of his.
Yeah, he's an urban artist.
And I've told Sam this a couple times before, but
We talk about it every day.
you have there's a mini game where you can use the motion controls in a very tech demo like fashion.
Oh right, I remember this.
Spray paint the walls.
Like you shake the controller and then you kind of like move it around. Yeah.
It is very tech demo. That's another problem in the game, that it feels a lot like a tech demo more than like an actual game.
Yeah, that's kind of like one of those things. Like, hey, look at technology and what we can do.
Like first generation console games, like.
Yeah.
The choice is to either you can spray paint happy blue pictures for good karma, or angsty red pictures for evil karma.
Of course.
But maybe if I paint the angsty ones, people will understand.
It's not a choice between either destruction of public property or not destruction of public property. It's choice between either prettyful or angsty destruction of public property.
You know what? I think I'd be more impressed if I saw a game that just had like a gray area. Like I'm just morally ambivalent towards everything. Just.
I mean,
and
my
there are
understanding
points
is
in
that
the
The
game.
Witcher 2 is a lot of shades of gray. Where it's
Your
just kinda
brother's
like,
a police. Your brother in this game is a police officer.
Naturally.
So
how does he
there are
feel
times
about
when
your blue spray paint? Does he still get mad about it, or is he like, "Good job on the spray paint"?
he hates the fact that you spray paint at all.
Yeah, so that makes sense at least. At least if you don't color blue, he's like, "Oh, what a great job on destruction of public property."
he doesn't comment on it. He's just trying to pretend that you don't do it because it's better for him that way. But like there's like when you beat a conduit, because when you get their powers, they naturally don't like that, and they think you're trying to they think you're with the DUP and you want to take them in even though you're not.
Right.
So when you beat them up, your brother will mosh them for the crimes they committed, because like one of them is killing off drug dealers because she can't stand drug dealers.
Damn those drug dealers.
And he's like, well, she has murdered several people, and he wants to bring them in. So you have the choice to either let them go and set them on the path to redemption, or your ultimate choice is to let them go and corrupt them. So either way, you're doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
You're just changing the tone of what you're doing.
Yes.
I don't know if that's better or worse.
It really is
It's
just
worse,
a problem.
honestly.
Yeah,
it's at least you can have a distinction between Mother Teresa and Baby Eater. This just doesn't seem like you're making much of a distinction at all.
Well, it feels like it's trying to be gray in like the same way that The Witcher is, but it doesn't have the right implications is what it seems like. It's hard to explain.
I mean, they specifically label one as good and one as evil.
I mean, at this point, I want to ask a question to both of you. Do you think at this point Infamous could just get rid of the karma system and I don't think it would affect the game at all?
I'm good with that, because First Light doesn't have a karma system.
Like, I feel like the first game, it was novel because it was the idea of, like, what kind of person would you become if you had superpowers? But at this point, it's like you're already telling the same story regardless.
Yeah.
So this is just kind of a bolted-on thing because the first game had it.
And it's funny that you mention that, because, like I said, in First Light, you play as the chick with the neon powers before the events of Second Son.
I've heard very mixed things about that, whether you love it or hate it.
I like
character
it
in the
personally.
setting.
And they don't have a karma system because her character arc is very much set in stone.
Good.
Because she has to be the person that she becomes at the beginning of Second Son.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
That makes sense.
I'm down with that.
And then the person that's shooting drug dealers because she hates drug dealers.
Damn those drug dealers.
And she has a good reason for wanting to kill drug dealers.
The
which
drug dealers
I
kill
don't
your
get into.
Yeah, I think it's,
drug dealers
regardless.
people.
Yeah.
Like, because one of them ended up killing her brother.
Naturally. Did he kill her with drugs?
At the end of the DLC, she faces them. She faces the drug dealer that killed her brother in a one-on-one.
Is he a conduit?
He has no powers.
Oh, interesting.
So normally in an Infamous game, you'd have the left bumper choice to save him, or right bumper choice to kill him off. in First Light, what they do, which is actually I thought pretty cool, is that they have the evil option, kill him, but they don't give you the good option.
Oh, that's pretty clever considering what they've
Why
done.
not?
Because her
Let's kinda
arc
think
is
of, like-
defined as she becomes the ruthless killer that she is in Second Son at this point. You
Yeah.
can't fuck with that, so we're going to make it so that you
It's one
don't
of those things
have
that, like,
that option.
it only works in the context of the other games, though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it only
Like,
works
in the
if you
context
have
of
played
every
previous
decision you
Infamous
make in
games.
the prior games is one or the other, the idea that there's only one.
Yeah.
That's actually very much reminds me of Soul Sacrifice, where when you have to kill the person who's your mentor, every time you try to save her, it doesn't do anything. It's like you have to keep fighting regardless. Like, there's only one option in reality.
Yeah.
I
Because
like-
if you
I like
save her,
that.
then she'll keep fighting you still.
Yep. I like that.
But yeah, I did appreciate that little twist on the typical karma system, because otherwise there is no karma whatsoever in that game. And I actually thought it would end up being a bit better for it, because that gives them a bit more liberty just to have Fetch be an actual character rather than a player cipher. Like, I think Cole and Delson ended up being more of a reaction to what the player was doing, less than the character in their own
Yeah.
right.
And I feel like that's part of the problem with karma systems in general. is that
Yeah.
you can't really have much of a solid foundation of a character because they have to be able to go to one of two extremes.
Exactly, and it is an Infamous one of two extremes. There is no, you get nothing for being neutral in Infamous.
Yeah, which is, if you're going to keep that system, there really should be something for that. I'm not sure what,
like
should
you,
be something.
you are either complete good and you get all the good benefits, or complete evil and you get all the evil benefits. Because if you don't do that, you're getting none of the benefits.
Yeah,
You're getting no benefits, and you were in fact you were objectively weaker as a result.
Yeah, I mean, personally for me, if it came down to we can gut the karma system, or if it came down to we got the karma system, but we get better characters out of that, every time, every day of the week, I take that.
It's not even a question, because
Yeah,
I have railed against that karma system since the first game, and I'm going to keep railing against it until something happens.
yep. I still think like Dragon Age and The Witcher do it best, which is they're not explicit at all about what your good or bad decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Dragon Age 1 specifically, 2 was actually really bad about that, because it was always up is good, down is bad.
Paragon Renegade.
Yep, I hate that so much. God. Mass Effect did really fuck that up too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, we could go on karma systems forever. It's not a discussion.
Yeah, and honestly, I am not adverse to political commentary in video games. Not
Sure.
at all. But like I said, the whole bioterrorist thing in Second Son, it felt completely out of place in an Infamous game.
Feels pretty heavy-handed.
And B, it feels extremely heavy-handed to the point where it actually ends up distracting me.
But you're also saying that it felt kind of forced into
Yes,
the
it felt
franchise.
so heavy-handed, so forced. Oh. Because, I mean, not only, like, do they especially call you a bioterrorist, you know, because that war on terror analogy did not become any more clear over the past few years.
Nope.
And they especially also go into the police state, because the DUP is declaring martial law in Seattle because bioterrorists are there. It's so heavy-handed that even like I typically tend to sway that way politically, but even then I was like, dude, you gotta calm down a bit.
Yeah.
Calm down. You're rushing it, man.
Don't fall up your own ass. Don't.
Yeah.
That's the lesson for this week from all the games we've played. Don't fall up your own ass.
It's just it just didn't feel like it belonged. It also doesn't feel like it belongs to Infamous. The Infamous I've always seen is something that's more akin to like a comic book, and they tried not to be very. They don't try to do a lot of political commentary in comic books, at least not very often.
I mean, X-Men. X-Men, you know, has always been.
I mean, the
kind of-
particular books that they're trying to referencing.
Well, I would also say for comic books, they do have political commentary, but they're more subtle than Infamous
Yes.
is. They don't explicitly
Yeah.
talk about terrorists.
No.
Bioterrorists. It just felt so weird, and just like it took me out of the experience. So that was my week.
I think it'd be a good place to wrap it up there.
But yeah, Infamous Second Son, it's not a bad game, but it felt a lot like a tech demo, and it felt inferior to its predecessors.
It's probably not the reason you go get a PS4.
But if you have a PS4 already, it's a good game to get for it.
Yeah,
sure. And Destiny. Destiny's a great game to get for it.
We went the entire episode without that.
I didn't even think about
the
that.
The entire fucking episode.
I ruined it.
You did it.
Add it to the Destiny counter.
How? How did you manage to do that?
It was by sheer accident. I did not even mean to do that.
Samuel Jason Dillweed Callahan.
Tune in next
Fuck
week.
You.
Oh. Why you gotta be so rude? I'm gonna marry it anyway. Anyway, I guess real quick we'll throw out some plugs for stuff. Real quick, I just want to knock out mine. I wrote an article about slow motion movie deaths slow motion death scenes in movies for Empty Skybox. You can check that out in the description below. And me and Brandon have since last week 3 more episodes of Interactive Friction. And by the time you see this, the episode that'll go up from now on will be in 1080p 60 FPS using a new recording method.
Sweet.
So, if anything, just bring it up 60 FPS, much better that way. And shit's getting great. Met Citra, and Dennis sucks, and yeah, great time.
We had a pretty good episode that just came out. We had a lot of good commentary in.
Yeah, I can't remember the last 3 we did, what all went on, but anyway, you got anything, Brandon? You wrote 1 or 2 things since last time.
I have recently released a article on my impressions of Deadly Premonition Director's Cut.
Oh yeah.
So and that's worth checking out because it does kind of go over a lot of what I said in the cast, but it goes into that in a bit more detail than I'm willing to just do in this cast because we have a very short amount of time. Even though it's 2 hours, it goes by quickly. Right.
And also, fun fact for everybody: Brandon got a new URL. Yay!
Yes, it is no longer pressstartdiscuss.blogspot. It's www.pressstartdiscuss.com. The www matters because if you don't put that in, you're not going to go to the right place.
Yeah. So yeah. And Chris is still working on his Assassin's Creed 3 dissertation. Should be out by the end of the month.
I expect 1,500 words or less on how you enjoyed Assassin's Creed 3.
It would just be "fuck you" written over and over for 100 times. So
I could write 1 word on how I liked Assassin's Creed 3. No,
I didn't.
Yeah, 2 words. I didn't.
Oh man.
Alternative. I'm going to start putting alternative episode titles in this because I really almost want to call this episode "Why I Enjoyed Assassin's Creed 3." I didn't. Anyway, we will see you guys all next week, and I almost forgot because we didn't get viewer questions, but if you would like to submit a question or like a story to us or any kind of comment or anything, you can even just, if you want to write a comment about the show that you don't want read aloud, you can do that as well, and you can do that at thetexturepop@gmail.com.
And if you don't want to read it, we won't read it. Just if you want to talk to us, we'll feel free to do that.
Feel free to just email and just tell me something. If you don't want it read on the air, just specify that and I won't. If you just want to tell us something that you think we'd find funny or interesting or whatever. Or
any critiques you have, of course. Those are welcome as well.
I'm always down for new stuff. Other than that, I think that'll be it. Alright.
Goodbye, guys.
Yeah.
Later.
Bye, everybody.
This was a pretty decent episode.